The following is a Mission Studios podcast.
Please remember, my little Podverse family, like, subscribe, and leave a comment on your podcast platform of choice. It helps me out and works the algorithm to get better rankings and bring our little podcast family to more listeners. Thank you, and on with the show. Welcome to the Podverse podcast. We like to stir up minds, emotions, and thoughts. Episodes will be emotional, some will be a bit comical, and everything else in between. But all will have a message and be given from the heart. So sit back, get comfy, and enjoy the journey. "911, would you like police, fire, or ambulance?"
Police, please.
What is the emergency?
A woman is physically assaulting her boyfriend.
And what would you like to see happen?
Can you please send a car and remove her from the home?
I'm sorry, the most we could do is go into the home in question and ask the man what he wants to happen.
No, you can remove her for his safety. She is hitting him and verbally abusing him.
I'm sorry, that is not what we're able to do.
Why not? Last week you physically removed my uncle from his home because he and his wife were having a verbal argument. There was nothing physical going on, just an argument, and an officer from your detachment physically threw him on the ground and arrested him, put him in handcuffs, and kept him in jail for the night. His wife was even telling you not to arrest him. They were just having an argument. She told the police she was in no danger.
I'm sorry, the most we could do is go to the residence and ask if he wants anything done.
This is ridiculous. You are being sexist and should have the same rules to protect all citizens of your town. He is afraid of her and will not speak up against her, so because he has a penis, you cannot help him.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I told you what we can do. Do you want us to go to the home or not?
Yes, damn it. Go to the home and help him.
15 minutes later, the police show up. The next-door neighbor watches off her porch and listens to the conversation. The police go up to the door. The lady that was hitting her boyfriend answers the door. The police ask her what the disturbance was all about. The woman explains that she had a couple of drinks and her boyfriend was not drinking. Then she said he was annoying and an argument ensued about him not being any fun. They argued for a bit and then they stopped. The police asked a few more standard questions, like when did the argument start? They asked if he got violent. The woman said he did not. The neighbor said in a raised voice, "Ask to talk to the husband and look at him." The police officer told the neighbor to mind her own business. The neighbor said, "But I was the one that called you." The officer ignored the neighbor, thanked the lady, and got back into his car and left. This is an actual phone call that was placed just a couple weeks ago. Nothing was done to help the abused man. Had the police asked even just to see him, they would have seen the black eye and bruises on his arms. Because he is afraid and he refuses to hit another human being, this man we are talking about is a pacifist and refuses to hit even to defend himself. What the hell is going on? I am not sitting here saying one is right and the other is wrong. I am asking what is happening inside our society when the rules for violence, racism, and religious freedom are so different for one over the other. Whether it is race, creed, gender, religion, taking sides because somebody has more money than another, whatever the situation is, there is such a big discrepancy. Why is one okay or overlooked and the other is definitely a no-no? Looking around our world, what do we see? People abusing others physically and mentally. Disrespect has become commonplace. We in today's world see one-sided decisions for many biased situations and discriminations as commonplace. We are in the year 2020. Is it not time we started erasing the crap that should have been eradicated back in the 40s, if not earlier? When are we as a society going to call BS on this kind of stuff? This is not a male versus female versus non-binary. This is not one race over another, or whose religious beliefs are more right than others. This is a human being being treated just the same as another human being. People overlook so many tragedies. Yes, I call every discriminatory injustice a tragedy, because every time one injustice slips through the cracks, it strengthens the inequality that has been brewing and stewing and festering inside our society for centuries. This crap breeds contempt and hostilities. Then seeing people in authority taking this kind of injustice as just another day type of scenario justifies regular people into thinking it's acceptable. We need to get our asses into gear and put a stop to these kind of actions. The in-your-head question this week is, How many times have you seen an action like we are discussing this week, or maybe in a single moment you're in a bad mental place, whether out loud or in your head you said something like we were talking about, and felt justified? Then deep down you knew for sure you were wrong, but went about your day and didn't say anything or even correct yourself. It is moments like these that we slip into acceptance and justification. It doesn't matter if the person doing this is you, me, a police officer, a store clerk, a cab driver, or just a rude person walking down the street. If you see someone genuinely being a piece of crap, acting out one of the ignorant actions I mentioned a few minutes ago, do something. Walk up and nicely but firmly point out what they're doing is wrong, and stand firm and defend the person being wronged. This week, my little Podverse family, stand up against injustices, violence, racism, religious persecution. We all deserve the freedom to believe and live without fear in our lives. Support difference and welcome the ability to learn from someone that is different from you. In one way or another, we're all different. That really is what makes us unique. We all can look into our past and find a reason that we were treated differently, and some may say, well, that was then. No, people, that is not the way to look at it. That was then for you. It is now for someone else. Walking by it like you do not see it is just as bad as stopping and cheering on the injustice that is being perpetrated upon another human being. Be safe, be informed, and be well, my little Podverse family. I love you all. See you next week.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Podverse podcast. Whatever you take from this message, it is given freely and with the utmost respect. Any support for the Podverse podcast is always welcome and can be left at our website, www.pod-versecom. Whether support is by way of suggestion, story, constructive criticism, or maybe you wish to sponsor an episode, there is never any obligation. We just hope to create a wonderful experience for you in this Podverse community. Also, be sure to check us out on our social media. Join us on Facebook at Podverse Podcast Group or on Twitter at pod_verse. Chat with you in the next episode.